Mental. I should make a techno version of this, really, shouldn't I? Oh, I'm right. Where's a pen? I'm doing that. Yes, yes, we are doing it. Musket is out, featuring Flowdan, and now I'm doing a track breakdown. I'm very excited, and it is a wonderful thing to be able to say. Like, I'm very excited that we've got a Rohaan and Flowdan track. That's mental to me. There's going to be 2 videos. One of the videos will be the track breakdown, and another video is more of going to be like the story of how this came to be, and a little bit more background on how we worked together and how Flowdan worked and what went on with the label and everything like that, so you can see and get a full rounded picture of what was going on. This video is going to be the track breakdown.
Yo, done and dusted, another one busted.
Yeah, this track, as you can see at the top, was originally called Daffodils, and this was just sort of me playing around with more flowy basses that were able to bend into each other, kind of like Halogenics does and some early Gyrofield tracks did. That was the goal with the track. You've probably heard it before in like a bunch of my mixes. I'm pretty sure this Daffodils, the early Daffodils version, was actually on Vision Radio, Noisier Radio actually it might have been, or Vision Radio. Yes, it's been through loads of different iterations, and it was never quite there. So it's like, why release something if I know it could be better at some point? So I just held on to it. And the way it started, actually, it started with this MIDI, and this patch is where it started. The patch that I used was one called Ensemble Choir, but that's the patch if you want to know the starting point. I then used RC20 just to get some movement in there, a little bit of tube distortion, and just the magnetic section, which just, again, adds this like little bit of movement over the sound, making it sound a bit more organic. And then I have this, so... and it just has this like filter delay layer on top of it. Very subtle, but I like that. And then here, I just slammed it through a ton of effects. Because like without this, it just brought out more of the artifacts. And that's something I've been doing a lot recently, is I've mad slammed the mids. I had to turn the output down quite a lot. I then put it through a limiter. But I then brought it through this. Again, you've probably seen this in some of my other videos. I just slammed the highs. Slammed the highs again, just duplicated it. Vocoder. EQ'd it out. And an OTT. And then again, but with a Valhalla, so just a bit of reverb. And the point of all of this is just to slam and slam and slam and slam the audio signal going through, but ever so slightly each time, so just doing little changes. And then as it comes out of there, I have the filler, which just kind of closes and opens. That was more of a creative decision as opposed to like a destructive decision. So from there, I was like, right, what can I do? So that's when drums came into it. And these are some drums that me and Skylark made ages ago. And they're also used on my track with Ava called Aries, which was released on Hospital Records. So yeah, this is where I started basically. And then with this, and then in classic Rohaan fashion, I have a vocal chop of some sort. I then add effects and hits. And then this bass actually came later. So I just built this intro without a bass line in. I just did your standard drums. I then had this like little build up here. This vocal here. So what's going on here is I've got a bit of reverb, which I automate somewhere in the... Oh yeah, just at the end there, just to make sure there's none there. But yeah, so I've got reverb. The widener isn't used, that can be deleted. Some chorus on 50% just to get it quite dreamy and moving around. I then got an OTT. Depth at 31%. That would have just been... Because like a lot of this that I'm doing is just trial and error. It's like, okay, I want this vocal to be dreamy and have a bit of movement going through it. Okay, so chorus can do that. An OTT is going to then bring that out, a bit more brighter. Reverb, washing it out, more dreamy there. Limit it. That's just slamming everything that's come before. I've now got an auto pan, moving it even more. I've got a phaser. Can you see how my thought process was quite obvious? So the things that I went to were quite obvious in terms of I was just looking for Ableton plug. Like, look, all of this is stock. Most of this is stock plugins. Like OTT, you could just use the stock Ableton one. I'm just trying to create movement. I've got the delay here, which just cuts at the end, which is important. Just before it drops, when I've created this momentum, I've created this tension, it's important then just to hold it. And then when the first kick drum of the drop comes in, release it. And it's similar to in horror films, the way that there's always like a moment of silence before the thing bursts through the wall or before the thing bursts through the window, whatever it is. Get the gist. So yeah, that was that vocal. It has some delay. I got this Ahi rap vocalizer sort of rack from Ahi, and it's really good. It just has the components to make your vocal yellow. You can see you can glue it together. You can even do makeup, reverb, and the top end and all that good shit. This here, M Auto pitch, is an absolute dream. Let me see if I automated it. Did I even use it on this? So listen to the vocal here. It's changing the formant. So if I speak from here, if I lower my formant or higher my formant, that's what this is doing. So I find instead of changing the pitch of stuff, I can move the formant around of samples and keep it really exciting. And what is that? Just like a bit of automation. Happy days. Super easy. Cool, yeah. And then just some more EQing. Rid of those highs, rid of the lows, just rolling it off. Bit of Echo Boy in there. Echo Boy Junior is really good as well. I would recommend getting that from Sound Toys. So yeah, just to quickly recap, I started with that MIDI, and then I went with the drums. So I did my general build layout. So this bass line as well came at a later date, so it did used to just be adding all like risers and things like that in place, which allow for the track to flow and build like effects. That's so important, so important. Then I have this little vocal, which is actually me. It was me saying here, 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 now fold, and then I made this. Oh well, yeah. What was? Oh no. So there's this, and that is layered with this, which I'm pretty sure was that sample, this sample, but then run through all of this. Where did I freeze that from? But it kind of sounded like it was saying here now fold. Here now fold. So I ended up using that instead, which I thought was really interesting, and that was me just slamming that through loads of different effects. No idea what that was from. Not a clue. But there we go. There it is. So that was really cool. But then in the drop, the way I'm teaching this track breakdown is in the route that I actually created the track. Normally I would go, here's the build up, here's the drop. This is the way and the route that I took. So the next thing that I did was I focused on the bass, is what I did. And the bass sounds like this. Took inspiration from people like halogenics for this with the big octave changes, just to cause a lot of well, those higher notes create a lot more movement in the bass, which is really exciting, which I think is exciting. So with no effects, sounds like this. Which isn't bad. It isn't bad, but it doesn't really do much. Like, it's not really giving me any sort of feeling. The patch, by the way, is the Sub Breeze patch on Massive X. Really, really fun, and it's a great starting point as well. So I had a little play around with that. And then straight into trash, as always, and that is on the Blitz setting on Saturate. And with this specific bass, I found it gave it that amp feeling. It sounded like a bass guitar going through an amp, and that's really what I was looking for, because this track really, really relies on this sliding bass. And like, if you look at the MIDI, look at that, it's like a full octave. Now look at that, that's like that's 2 octaves above it. Just sounds so good, so crisp. So then after that, I used a Berserk distortion, which is really, really good. This is the difference. I really like it. You can add some fuzz and really sort of interesting drive elements to it. So that was ended up working out really well. And then I used my top end chain, which is the dry signal, sounds like this.